Thank you for listening to our daily devotional. Our lesson today is from our daily Bible reading in Job 7 through 13, titled, Let's Not Be Physicians of No Value. Well, yesterday's reading was on Job, the 7th chapter through the 13th chapter. I imagine you've noticed a few things as you began day before yesterday reading in the book of Job. One, it's an amazing book. It helps us as we look at it and we realize as we struggle with things going bad around them or to them. But another thing you need to realize in the book of Job, it's not true. No, I'm not saying it's not an inspired book. I'm not saying that it's not from God. I'm saying that it's largely a record of men, Job and his friends, Eliphaz, Bildad, Zophar, and then Elihu kicks in at the last, as they struggle to deal with the suffering and pain. And it gives us a warning of trying to answer some questions that aren't there. The answers aren't there. We can make fools out of ourselves. Eliphaz, Bildad, and Zophar, they all had reasons. The book itself is 3 cycles of speeches. Eliphaz, Bildad, and Zophar give a speech. Job responds, and that's done 3 times. And then Elihu speaks up, and not a one of them were right. Finally, of course, God is going to come in and deal with all of them. And thus the book gives us some, I guess, discouragement in the sense that sometimes we're just in a quandary. We don't know what's happening. But it also gives us hope. First of all, as we noted, God's in control. And then as we end the book, we'll see it's going to work out. That's one of the great lessons. Things happen sometimes we don't understand, but God enables us to come through them. But there's another great lesson in there, I think, in chapter 13. As you look at that, the end chapter of our reading today, you find that Job has been basically attacked by his so-called friends. And in chapter 13, he is dealing with, in the first cycle of speeches, he is just dealing with Zophar, who has concluded his speech to him. Now, Job knows he doesn't understand what's going on, but he knows these people aren't right either. The things they're accusing him of, hypocrisy and a multitude of other things. But he gets in chapter 13, and notice what he says in verses 1 through 5. He says, Lo, mine eye has seen all this, mine ear hath heard and understood it. What ye know, the same do I know also. I'm not inferior to you. Surely I would not speak to the Almighty and desire to reason with God. But you're forgers of lies. You're all physicians of no value. Oh, that you would altogether hold your peace, it should be your wisdom. Hear now my reasoning and hearken to the pleadings of my lips. You look at that and he tells them, you don't know what you're talking about. Whenever we are in times of trial, sometimes people are helpful. They're really beneficial. They're there to comfort, to encourage, to strengthen, to correct. And then sometimes people just got to open their mouth and say something and don't have any idea what they're saying. And one of the things we need to learn is not to be pulled down by them. Job had enough struggles in his life already. And now these forgers of lies, as he calls them, physicians of no value, are coming in and they're not helping him at all. But he looks and he says, you're not so special. You don't know more than I do. I've heard the things. I've seen the things. I've experienced these things. So whenever you and I are facing struggles, make sure that you're not being basically pulled down by somebody saying something they don't know what they're talking about. And of course, that means we've got to know the things that are true, that are right from God. And Job did. That's what he said. But also, all of us desire to help others. I believe you do. And we need to make sure that we don't become physicians of no value. Now, what we need to understand is whenever we do speak, we need to have a proper goal in mind. I'm not sure what Eliphaz, Bildad, and Zophar, what their goals were. But our goal as Christians, Galatians the 6th chapter, is to restore others in a spirit of meekness, considering ourselves, lest we also be tempted. Galatians 6 and verse 1. That word restore means to bring back to a place of usefulness, not tear down, not blame, not destroy, but to bring back. Make them in a place with God again. Now, the only way we're going to do that is to make sure that we know what God says. 1 Peter 4 and verse 11. You speak as the oracles of God. You realize that the word of God is that which is able to make us complete, thoroughly furnished unto all good works. 2 Timothy 3, verse 16 and 17. But I also need to examine the person. You know, in Matthew, the 7th chapter, a passage that is so abused, Jesus tells us that whenever you see somebody, you first of all make sure you're right. Don't go to somebody hypocritically and blaming them and such while you're living in sin. But secondly, he says you do that, and obviously you're talking about the truth. He talks about later false prophets, not being prey to them. But he says that you can see clearly to remove the speck that's in your brother's eye. That means I'm going to have to examine them. I'm going to have to look, make sure I understand the situation, the needs of this person. Don't make assumptions, but see clearly. Eliphaz, Bildad, and Zophar didn't do that. And it's sad that instead of helping this one they called a friend, they made it worse. I don't want to be a physician of no value. I want to know the Word of God. I want to make sure that I am myself right with God so I can help others. But then I want to make sure that I look and I try to understand the situation the person's in, see what they're facing, see what they're really struggling with, so that is within their eye, I can reach and pull it out. Then I become like the great physician, Jesus Christ. I'm the one who's following on this earth his will to go and seek and save the lost, to teach all nations, to bring them to obedience to his will. Let's be physicians, not physicians of no value. Thank you for listening. I remind you again, at the description of this video, you'll find a link to the Bible reading for the book, the month of January. And I hope you're able to read along. A lot of difficult things, but sometimes we just look and we realize the great lessons that are there, and then we can go back and study the difficult things. You have a good day.
Thank you for taking the time to watch this short devotional. We encourage you to subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you'll be notified of other devotionals that will be forthcoming. Also, we encourage you to join us online live as we stream our services at each service time. More information can be found on our website at the link below. Thank you.